Hello students, welcome to KENE'S Educare, a group of KENE solutions. This is part 10 of lesson number 13, Why Do We Fall Ill? And in this part, that is part 10, I'm going to complete with the lesson because we are just left with the principle of prevention, a short concept on immunization, summary, and then we have few exercise questions. We are just left with this 3-4 parts, like, right? So I'll be completing that in this part. That is part 10 of the lesson. So I hope you all remember whatever we studied under the part principle of treatment, right? It was like the easiest part according to me that you can that can be given under the principle of treatment, right? So we discussed on principle of treatment and there were so many important concepts. Like we are on to part 10 and we have studied so many part in this lesson. What exactly being healthy means, what exactly being disease free means, a distinction between that, right? How exactly the diseases are spreading. We discussed on HIV, how exactly that spreads. We discussed on direct and indirect contact. You can say how the diseases spread through direct contact and indirect contact, right? So many things in detail. So before I proceed up with this part of the lesson, I want each one of you to please revise whatever notes that you have taken in your book, because all the notes that you have with you is very important. So everyone please go through the notes that you have taken. I hope you all are revising each and every part. You need to revise each and every point that we have studied so far in the lesson. I'm not going to show you the slides now. First, I'll teach you the part like where we are going to study the principle of prevention and immunization, and then while we do the summary, I'll show you all the slides one by one. so that you can have a quick revision on it, and then we'll discuss the 6 exercise questions that we have. Okay, so please go through whatever notes that you have in your book. So now I'm going to show you, like, I'm not going to show you all the slides. We will start with principle of prevention and immunization. So like, as I'm going to that slide, please go through it quickly, everyone. Like, whatever I'm showing, you should be knowing the subtopics as well, right? So this is what we studied in the last class, right? That is principle of treatment. So I will like to go through this. I hope you all are revising it, because after this I'm going to start with principle of prevention, which is again very important for us to know, right? So please go through it, everyone. So now we have principle of prevention to discuss. See, all of what we have talked about so far, it deals with how to get rid of an infection in someone who has the disease, right? Like if someone is suffering from any disease, how can they get rid of infection, right? But there are three limitations of this approach to deal with infectious diseases. How many approach do we have? There are three limitations to this approach. Okay, so the first limitation that we have is that once someone has a disease, their body functions are damaged and may never recover completely. Okay, it's just a fact, like limitation which has been given. Like if someone is suffering from a disease, their body functions are getting damaged because of that disease, because the bacteria becomes strong, because of your lower immunity, right? So in that case, the body functions, they are damaged and they may never recover completely. And the second is that the treatment will take time, which means that someone suffering from a disease is likely to be bedridden for some time, even if we can give proper treatment, right? The first was, if someone is having a disease, the body can, like the body function will get damaged and it may never recover completely. Second is, the treatment will take time, so it's going to be a slow process, right? So the person who is suffering from the disease will be bedridden for some time, even if given a proper treatment, because medicines will also take their time, and the treatment that has been given will also take time, right, for their body to get adapted and like get well. And the third limitation is that the person suffering from an infectious disease can serve as the source from where the infection may spread to the other people. Okay, what is the third limitation that we have? That if a person is suffering from an infectious disease, now you know what an infectious disease is, right? So if a person is suffering from infectious disease, then that can serve as source from where the infection may spread, because it is infectious. So it's very obvious that it can spread to other people as well, right? Because we know that infectious diseases are the one which spread from one person to other. So in that case, we should be knowing that from where exactly the disease is spreading, right? And All the three limitations leads to multiplication of the above difficulties. Okay, what does it leads to? It leads to multiplication of the above difficulties, the all the three difficulties that we discussed. Okay, so it is because of such reasons that prevention of disease is better than cure. We should always make sure that we are preventing this disease, because we have this you can say quote in English as well, right, that prevention is better than cure. So how can, the question is, how can we prevent diseases? So there are two ways, one journal and one specific to each disease. Okay, there are two ways. One way is journal and the other way is specific to each disease. So the journal ways of preventing infections mostly relate to preventing exposure. Okay, what is the journal way? Preventing infection, and that infection should is related to exposure. We are not exposing to infectious individual, or we know that this is how the disease can spread, so we are preventing that. That is the journal way. Like in COVID we were doing, if the person was suffering from COVID, the person used to isolate themselves, right, so that it is not like spreading to others as well, right? So that this is the general way that we are preventing the exposure. And how can we prevent exposure to infectious microbes? So if we look at the means of their spreading, we can get some easy answers for this. Like if it's an airborne microbe, we can provide the exposure by providing living conditions that are not overcrowded. It means you not visiting the overcrowded places is one of the, you can say, one of the way of preventing yourself from airborne microbes. Waterborne microbes, we need to make sure that we are not exposing ourselves to uncleaned water or like dirty water. So we have to prevent exposure by providing ourselves with safe drinking water, and we can do this by treating the water to kill any microbial contamination. Even if we are boiling the water and then drinking it, like that is also one of the way of preventing ourselves from waterborne microbes, right? And the third case is for vector borne infections, we can provide clean environments. So if you are living in clean environment, the mosquitoes or like other vectors, they won't be able to breed over that, because we know that mosquitoes breed. Like if you are not taking proper care of your surrounding and water is getting accumulated in your surrounding, then in that water mosquitoes starts breeding, right? So if you are cleaning your environment and there is no accumulation of water, the trees are being cleaned, everything is being clean around you, your environment is clean, then you can prevent yourself from this vector borne infections. Okay, so these are the three ways how we can prevent it, and like the reasons have been given, right? So I'll explain you the further part, but before that I want you all to please write all the important points and make sure you understand whatever we have discussed. You have to write all the important points that you feel that you should be having a note of, and you can include it in your answer. Okay? I hope you all are done, like you are writing about this and you're almost done with it. So now next thing that we have is, this would not, for example, allow, like if we are keeping our environment clean, because we are preventing ourselves from vector-borne microbes, right? So this will not allow mosquitoes breeding, and in other words, public hygiene is one basic key to the prevention of infectious disease. If we want that, like we should be away from all the infectious diseases around us, we need to make sure that we are, like wherever we are living, we are keeping our surrounding clean, because public hygiene becomes one of the important factor. And as we already discussed in the health part, the definition of being healthy is where you are mentally, physically and socially, when you are active, right? When you are state of well-being, and all the three ways, physically, mentally and socially, then you are healthy, right? So public hygiene also becomes an important part for us. And in addition to this issues that relate to environment, there are some other journal principles as well which helps us to prevent infectious diseases. And to appreciate those principles, let us ask a question we have not asked so far, or we haven't looked at so far. So normally we are faced with infections every day, right? We come across so many bacteria every day. And if someone is suffering from cold and cough in the class, it is likely that the children sitting around will be exposed to that infection, because whenever that person coughs or like sneezes, the bacteria gets mixed in the air and the person sitting around is going to inhale that same air, right? So it's very obvious that other child sitting around this child who is having golden calf, they're going to suffer from that, right? But all of them do not actually suffer. Like if 10 of them are sitting close to them, all of them are not going to suffer from the same. Why? Because not everyone's immune system is weak, right? Because immunity plays a very important role, because the immune system of the body is normally fighting off microbes. As I told you that every day we come across so many microbes, right? So if the body's immune system is normally like is active, then in that case it's going to fight against the microbes. And we have cells that specialize in killing the infecting microbes, and these cells, they go into action each time an infecting microbe enter the body. So as soon as like some infecting microbe is like getting inside our body, there are certain cells who will be specialized in killing those microbes. Like if you remember, I told you in the first part that we have lymphocytes in our body, macrophages in our body. What is their function? Like as soon as a bacteria is entering, this macrophages and lymphocytes, they'll become active and they will kill those bacteria, right? So we have those specialized cells in our body which is going to kill this infecting microbes as soon as the infecting microbe enters our body. So if they are successful, we do not actually come down with any diseases, right? Because if your immune system is successful, is active, you won't get any disease. Otherwise you'll suffer from like some or the other diseases every day if your immune system is weak. So immune cells manage to kill off the infection long before it assumes the major proportion. And as we noticed earlier, if the number of infecting microbe is controlled, the manifestation of the disease will be minor. Let's say the number of microbe entering your body is 5. Okay, and now they are going to even reproduce in your body, right? So they will increase in number. But if you are able to control this infecting microbes from growing inside your body, the manifestation of the disease in that case will be very minor, and it will get cured as well easily. So in other words, becoming exposed to or infected with an infectious microbe is not necessarily mean that you are developing some noticeable diseases. It's not like that. So one way of looking at severe infectious disease is that it represents a lack of success of the immune system. Like when you find out that you're getting like each and every microbe entering your body has some or the other impact in you, that means you can have some severe infectious diseases from there. Okay. So I want you all to please write all the important points that you can see on screen, as that is going to help us some or the other how. I hope you all are writing all the important points from the screen. So see, the functioning of the immune system, like any other system in our body, will not be good if proper and sufficient nourishment and food is not available, right? So if sufficient nourishment and food, if we are not taking in proper food, our immune system becomes weak, right? Because it is from our food itself that immune system tries and gets some nutrients and it becomes strong, right? So, therefore, the second basic principle of prevention of infectious diseases is the availability of proper and sufficient food for everyone. So, this is the second basic principle that we have. The first principle was keeping your environment clean, right? Wherever we are living, we are seeing to it that we are keeping it clean, right? And the second principle is availability of proper and sufficient food for everyone. So these are the journal ways of preventing infection. And what are the specific ways? Because we saw that there are some journal ways and specific ways, right? So this relate to some peculiar property of immune system that usually fights off microbial infections. What will happen? They are going to fight off microbial infections. And let us cite an example to try and understand this property. So these days there is no smallpox anywhere in the world. Okay, like this textbook is like made many. Smallpox is like mostly gone from our like world, but as recently as 100 years ago, smallpox epidemics were not at all uncommon. And epidemics is something that is like all over the world. Okay, so like we had COVID hundreds of years ago, we had smallpox epidemics which occurred. Okay, so in such an epidemic, people used to be very afraid of coming near someone suffering from disease, since they were afraid of catching the disease, right? Because we know that it's infectious. So people were like very much afraid of catching the disease, and they used to not interact with each other. However, there was one group of people who did not have this fear, and they used to get suffer from this disease, and this was a group of people who had smallpox earlier and survived it, although it was a lot of scaring. Okay, so it's like they had this thing in their mind that if they are getting smallpox once, they can't get it again. So the group of people who were like living without fear was this people. In other words, if you had smallpox once, there was no chance of suffering from it again. So having the disease once was a means of preventing some subsequent attacks of the same disease. Okay, what happens if someone is getting the disease once? It means they have this like subsequent attacks of the same disease, and this happens because when the immune system first sees an infectious microbe, it responds against it and then remembers specifically. So your body remembers that this bacteria has already entered my body once, right? So it can't, like, if it comes again, I'm going to deal with it. Your immune system remembers all the microbes entering your body. Okay. I hope every one of you are writing all the points. I hope every one of you are going through it. So see, so the next time that particular microbe enters your body, your immune system like remembers that microbe, right? So the immune system responds with even greater vigor in this case, and this eliminates the infection even more quickly than the first time around. And this is the principle of immunization. Okay. Now after this, the next thing that we have is immunization. So see, traditional Indian and Chinese medical systems, they sometimes deliberately rub the skin crust from smallpox victims into the skin of healthy people. So what they were doing, like the person who was suffering from smallpox, the skin crust was taken from their skin and was like deliberately injected into like healthy people. Why? So that their immune system knows about that microbe, and like next time when that healthy individual suffers from that microbe, because the immune system already knows about that microbe, it becomes easier to resist that disease, right? So that they thus hoped to induce a mild form of smallpox that will create resistance against the disease. And famously, 2 centuries ago, an English physician named Edward Jenner realized that milkmaids who had cowpox did not catch smallpox even during epidemics. So the one who has suffered from cowpox before did not catch smallpox after like even during epidemics when it was like spreading worldwide. So cowpox is a very mild disease, and Jenner tried deliberately giving cowpox to people. As you can see in the picture, he is like deliberately giving cowpox to healthy individuals, and he found that now they are resistant to smallpox. So the person who got this cowpox, okay, they were resistant to smallpox. So this was because smallpox virus is closely related to cowpox virus, because cow is vacca in Latin and cowpox is vaccination. So from this root, the vaccination has come into our usage, and that is how we use the term vaccination. Okay. So I want you all to write all the important points from screen, everyone. I hope you all are writing about immunization. After this, see, we can now see that As a journal principle, we can fool the immune system into developing a memory, right? For particular infection, by putting something that mimics the microbe we want to vaccinate against into the body, right? So this does not actually cause the disease, but this would prevent any subsequent exposure to infecting microbe from turning into actual disease, right? It means like we are fooling our immune system so that we are preventing the infection and exposure to infecting microbes, right? So many such vaccines are now available for preventing a whole range of infectious diseases and provide a disease specific means of prevention. And there are vaccines against like tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, measles, polio, then many other, right? So we have so many vaccines which are available. Even COVID vaccine we have, right? So know this thing. Then of course, like we have some of the program like public health programs of childhood immunization for preventing the infectious diseases, right, which are given to all the child, if you all remember. So all the child who are like, when the child has been born, they are been given different vaccines, right? So they are been given vaccine against hepatitis, which causes jaundice, and then they are like jaundice, we know that is transmitted through water, right? So there is vaccine for one of them, hepatitis A, in the market. But majority of the children in many parts, they are already immune to hepatitis A by the time they are 5 years old. Okay, so many of the children, they become immune to this, and this is because they are exposed to the virus through water. And under the circumstances, would you take the vaccine? What do you think, like will you take vaccines under the circumstances? You can take it, like, but you are naturally becoming, you can say, strong with it, then there's no need of taking vaccine in that case, right? Otherwise you'll have to. I hope you all are writing like important point. If you find any important point over here, please do write that. So sorry. Now we have the summary over here. So I want you all to please go through this summary and then we will start with the 6 exercise questions that we have for the lesson. Okay. After this summary, we have 6 exercise questions to discuss. Like I have already shown the questions to you, right? So now the first question that we have over here is, how many times did you fall ill in the last 1 year and what were the illness? So under this we have two different questions. Think of one change you could make in your habit in order to avoid any of or most of the illness, and think of one change you wish for you and the surrounding in order to avoid any of or most of the above illnesses. So I'm not going to help you with it. This is like you have to explain it on your own experience, right? So I want you all to please write the answer for this. I'll give you some time as well. Please write the answer for this. After this, the second question that we have is, a doctor, nurse, health worker is exposed to more sick people than others in the community. Find out how he or she avoids getting sick herself or himself. So over here you need to write the precautions, like we studied on the principle of prevention, right? So you need to find it over here. So you come up with some points and then I'll tell you what exactly you can write under this. Okay, so you can write here some important precautions that need to be taken by the doctor, nurse, or any of the healthcare worker while they are treating people who are sicker, right? So first thing that they can do is they can like wear a mask when in contact with a diseased person. Second thing, they can drink purified water so that they are away from waterborne diseases. Then they should not neglect cleanliness and personal hygiene. Fourth thing that you can write is like they can keep themselves covered appropriately when moving in a like in an infected region, and eating nutritious food and maintaining a healthy diet. So these are the five things that they can follow so that they are healthy even if they are exposed to more sick people around them. Okay, then you need to conduct a survey in your neighborhood to find out what are the three most common diseases. Okay, and you after coming up with this, you need to suggest three steps that could be taken by your local authorities to bring down the incidence of these diseases. So you will find out that people mostly suffer from cold and cough, loose motions, and malaria. And the reasons that because they are not taking in clean water, and there are three different you can write some of the preventive measures, like you can write they can prevent the disease by drinking fresh, uncontaminated, and clean water, then by maintaining hygienic sanitary conditions, and by educating people about various preventive measures with the help of posters and pamphlets. Okay, so these are the three preventive measures that they can write. Okay, so I want you all to write the answer for this, and then we have two more questions, like four, five, six, three more questions that we will discuss on. Okay. Then after this, the fourth question is, a baby is not able to tell her caretaker that she is sick. What would help us to find out that the baby is sick and what is the sickness? So it can be found out by observing the behavioral change of the child, like improper food intake, constant crying, mood changes frequently. So these are some of the reasons that we can find out, like through which we can find out that the baby is sick. Okay, and the sickness, like how can we find it, is with the help of symptoms or indications which are been shown by the child. Okay, so the symptoms could be loose motion, vomiting, painless in the body, okay, and fever. So this can be the sickness that the baby can have. Okay, I hope you all are writing it in short. Then we have the fifth question, like under which of the following condition is a person most likely to fall sick? The first thing that they have given is like when she is recovering from malaria, when she has recovered from malaria and is taking care of someone suffering from chicken pox, or when she is on a 4-day fast after recovering from malaria and is taking care of someone suffering from chicken pox. Why? So over here you can write that a person is more likely to fall sick when she is on a 4-day fast after recovering from malaria and is taking care of someone suffering from chicken pox. This is because एक तो she is fasting during recovery and her immune system is so weak that she is not able to protect its own body from any foreign infection. And at this stage, if she is taking care of someone who is suffering from chickenpox, she has more chances of getting infected with the chickenpox virus and will get sick again with this disease. So she, as because she is not taking in proper diet, when she is recovering from malaria, there are more chances that she can suffer from chickenpox again. Okay. After this, we have the last question, that is under which of the following conditions are you most likely to fall sick? And there are three conditions that they have given: when you are taking examination, when you have traveled by bus and train for 2 days, and when your friend is suffering from measles and you need to explain in detail why. So the condition in which you are most likely to fall sick is when your friend is suffering from measles, because measles is highly contagious and it can easily spread through air. Okay, so if the infected person cough and sneezes via close personal contact or direct contact with the body secretions, right? So if a friend is suffering from measles, it is advised to stay away from them so that you can prevent yourself from getting infected. Okay, so the correct answer is the third one, but you need to explain it in brief as well. I hope you all are writing this. I hope you all are explaining that in your book. So this is how we will end up with the lesson. Okay, that is why do we fall ill. And I hope whatever we discussed in this whole lesson, why do we fall ill, along with you can say like along with all the exercise question summary and everything, we have discussed it in brief, like in detail, everything has been discussed. And I hope you are clear with this part, like you're clear with this part as well as all the other parts that we have discussed so far. And now you're like even able to write the answer in your own words, right? So this is how I'll end up with the lesson, why do we fall ill. Okay, and I'll start with the next lesson in the next part. Thank you everyone.